And that being said, let's welcome our first speaker, Christiane Dolva, who will be attending from somewhere else in Sweden.
So my name is Christiane Dolva, Head of Sustainability at Fjällräven. So happy to be with you, even if it's not in real life. And I would like to take some time just to talk about what me and we at Fjällräven see as the key to sustainability, and how we believe that if we are able to make this happen and also educate consumers and users around the importance of this key, then we can create the market that will enable us to keep on doing what we do, but in a more sustainable way. And from our perspective, the key to sustainability starts with this jacket. And I'll get back to the jacket in question, but it has, in all its simplicity, become a little bit of a symbol to us at Fjällräven when it comes to product longevity, which is what I want to talk to you about. And sometimes sustainability can become such a complex concept, simply because it needs to be integrated into everything we do. So we need to, for example, by looking at this jacket, consider every detail of material choices, constructions, design, zippers, buttons, sewing threads, how it's produced, the dyeing process, how it's distributed and transported around the world. And we need to look at all those aspects if we want to ensure that we can minimize the negative impact and hopefully, maximize some type of positive impact when we develop products that are aimed to inspire people to be out in nature. Because that's why we do what we do at Fjällräven. We've been inspiring people to spend time out in nature since the 60s, and we definitely intend to keep on doing so for a long time. But when we work on all these details, and also would love to share our experiences, our milestones, and our challenges when we talk about sustainability, it's easy to sometimes forget a very important aspect. And that aspect is that we need to plainly and honestly realize that everything we do has an impact. So even if we pay meticulous care to all those details of trying to choose best available practice, trying to minimize the negative impact, when a product reaches the stores, or even better, when a product starts to join you on a trek out in nature, it still has an impact because it consists of raw material. It has been put together by numerous actors in a complex supply chain. It's been transported. There's been emissions and waste along the way. So we can do everything we can to minimize that impact, but if we really want to make a difference, we also need to make sure that the impact is put to good use. Because if you buy a jacket and throw it away after one day, that's a lot of impact for one use. It's a little bit like buying a tent. So if you buy a tent and sleep in it one night, especially if it's a Fjällräven tent, that becomes a pretty expensive night. But for every night you sleep in it, the price per night goes down. And that we need to talk about when it comes to sustainability and product development. That the longer a product can live, the lower the impact per year of usage is. And that is what we regard as the key to sustainability. And then you can think, okay, that's great. That's maybe in the hand of the user. We can produce these products and then we can just hope for the best and hope that they keep on using the products for as long as possible. But that's where I think that we all need to realize, and we work a lot with what we can do to ensure that a product can last for a long time. And it matters. So this is, I'm sure some of you have seen, taken from the Mr. Future Fashion Report, where we in Sweden, or they on national level in Sweden, they looked at the gain of more uses per garment. And if we actually ensure that we can use a product twice as long as the average, the average being, sadly low, well, then that has a huge impact, both climate-wise, but also on energy and water usage. So why is this important? Obviously, because, as I said, it looks like people are buying more and more products. We have a huge increase in the number of garments that are being bought. We also have, at the same time, a decrease in the amount of times or how long that garment is being used. Actually, I read a study that said that half of the products in your wardrobe are most likely to end up in landfill after only 3 years. Which is sad in many ways and devastating when you know the hours and resources and time that has been spent on developing these products. So what can we do from a brand perspective to ensure that the product can last for as long as possible? And do people want that? Is there a market for it? First of all, I think the key to longevity is not to forget the functionality. We are problem solvers. Our job is to ensure that you can take a walk in Dalarna, for example, and feel warm and dry and have a proper, comfortable, and very functional product with you. Because if it doesn't fulfill a function, it doesn't really maybe even need to exist. And if the functionality is not really working, it's less likely to become your favorite and the one product that you keep for a long time. Obviously, physical durability comes into place, so ensuring that we pick and choose materials and construct products in a way that can withstand the test of time. Because if they fall apart, that too will lead to a very much shorter lifespan than necessary. Then, of course, things will happen during years and years of usage. So we also have a responsibility to ensure that we can offer repairs when needed, to ensure that we can offer spare parts needed, to be able to cater for a long life relationship. And we also need to communicate those opportunities and make it economically sound to have that as an option to actually repair the product that you want to keep. Last on this slide is a topic that I also think is super important, which is timeless design. Because with functionality, physical durability, and the possibility to repair if something happens, obviously we could create products that could last for 10, 20, 30, 40 years. But that doesn't really matter if the one who buys it and uses it grows tired of it after a year and wants something else. So you need to also integrate the timelessness so that the product still feels attractive and not fall out of trend. And by that, it loses its lifespan. And that might be easier said for an outdoor company like ourselves than maybe for a fashion company, but I strongly believe that if we want to not only work on the details of trying to minimize the impact we have on nature in the different material choices we do and the production processes, we also truly need to look at how we can do these 4 important things in order to play our part in maximizing the opportunity for a product to last long. But there is more to it than this. And that's where I come back to this jacket. So this jacket that you're looking at here is actually this jacket that I'm wearing here. And this jacket used to be my grandmother's jacket. It's an old Fjällräven jacket. And she bought it in Lillehammer, Norway, in the late 70s. And it has been with her for decades of use, love, adventures, and experiences. And then at the age of 86, she was able to hand it over to me with a lot of pride, and I could feel like almost emotional. And now I wear it, and I treasure it. And I'm very proud of it. And it obviously has, its functional properties in place. It keeps me warm, it keeps me dry, It fulfills the function I need from a jacket of this kind. It has not fallen apart. So it definitely ticks the box of physical durability. I have repaired it. There's been some small holes and scratches that I have been able to repair, and I've also been able to wax it and impregnate it so that it lasts longer. So it ticks that box as well. It has a timeless design. At least I don't feel like I'm wearing anything from the 70s, 80s, and the Räven jacket that we currently have in our collection today looks very much the same as this. But the most important thing is that she kept it. So there is something with this jacket that made her keep it for so long, and that made her so proud when she handed it over to me. And that's what we call emotional longevity. So if you tick all the boxes of physical durability, timeless design, repair, and functionality, we believe that you still also need to strive to get that emotional connection. That means that someone wants to keep and wear and take care of a product. And obviously that emotional connection is, doubled now for me. So I will keep on wearing this and treasure it, and hopefully, be able to hand it down to my kids in the future. And that's, of course, one of the more challenging parts for our designers. We have a set of design guidelines that integrate all these aspects of repairability, durability, also preferred material choices, and so on. But then they get the slightly more challenging challenge of trying to, design the next grandma jacket. But this example is just a way for us to show that longevity is one of the keys to sustainability, and we need to start addressing it and talk about it. And sometimes when I talk about it, it seems to be a conception that, but that must be challenging because then people stop buying your products. So is there really a market for that? Is that a good idea to start working with striving for people to keep the product in use for as long as possible? And yes, I think it is. And the reason why I think it is because longevity, if creating a product that lasts, creates reliability. If your brand's vision is to be regarded as a credible actor in the field in which you operate, in our case, we want to show what we are capable of in terms of creating functional, durable, timeless equipment for a lifetime in nature, then longevity underlines that. You can rely on us that we have integrated this into the design guidelines. And that, I believe, is important. Then also, longevity creates authenticity. We don't want to invent anything just out from the blue. We want to authentically show that this is what we believe will create a better experience for you out in nature. And by construction and function and durability, we'll be able to show that when we show that a product can last for long. And those two things in connection will create loyalty. And if there's anything I think we need to look at even more, it's how do we ensure that we create a loyal relationship with the consumers, or as we choose to call them, the users, because we don't really want our products to just be consumed. We want them to be used. And that's one of the keys where I think that if we can focus on longevity and we can educate the users out there about the importance of ensuring that these products can last for long, that will create a loyal brand consumer relationship. But that also requires that we not only do all the things correctly from the design and construction side, but we also need to offer after purchase services. We need to stop thinking of ourselves as producing products that will land on a shelf, then sold, and bye-bye, no more relationship there. We need to have that as a more long-term loyal relationship back and forth. Hey, if you buy this product, you can come back, we can repair it, we can look at it, we can refresh it with wax, we can show you how to go for a trek, we'll have these experiences as an addition to products, and by that you create that loyalty and belonging that I think will be more and more key moving forward. And I sometimes get the question of, as I said, is it possible to create products that last for that long and still grow? And yes, I think that if you have reliability, authenticity, a loyal user base, then we can all find sustainable growth within our fields, because if you feel you've invested in a jacket that becomes a lifelong companion, well, there's a probability that you want a trouser to do the same or a backpack to do the same. So we just need to stop thinking of, I believe, and this is me personally, I believe we need to stop thinking of growth just as people wanting to buy more of the same thing or replacing thing in a quick pace. It could be a whole ecosystem to create that. And there is also more and more research showing that consumers care. And I don't think this is news to any one of you listening here. And this you see here is just me randomly picking some of the different reports that seem to come out at an ever-growing speed, looking at how today's consumers or customers, they want to keep buying products that can solve a problem for them or make them more comfortable on a trek. But they want to do it with a good conscience, feel that they can buy from brands whose values they feel aligned with, and there is a demand for more sustainable product. And hence, if we're able to highlight the fact that longevity truly is one of the key aspects, I believe we're onto something that can become really, really good. So we are on a mission to inspire the world to walk with nature, and we believe that we do that best by ensuring that our products and the experiences we create can last for a lifetime. Do I have more time left? Or do you like what? No, exactly. But that's what I thought, but I had some backup slides here in case
okay. Maybe we could instead go over to some questions, because I think all that you say is really, it sounds really great. This caretaking, sustainability, being the good guys in a very commercial world. But has there never been some kind of dilemma when you choose between your long-term goals and simply growth?
Well, no, I think that one of the key principles that we often look at and fall back on is that we can't seek growth just for the sake of growth. Because we also need to be true to our core values of what we're doing. So almost, if you think of it almost like you keep a campfire burning, if you want to keep a campfire burning, that intense fire all through the night, well, then you need to feed it one log at a time. You could be tempted to throw all the logs on at once and get a really nice bonfire, but that will turn out to ashes pretty quickly. And if you don't pay attention to it, it will also die out. So I think that there isn't a dilemma there, because we just need to trust that the long-term perspective is what's gonna build the credibility and the long-term intense campfire. That is how we want to run our business.
Long-term campfire. That's interesting. But you showed us a slide with some consumer takeaways or what the consumer wanted. Could you tell us about some people that really care about long-lasting products? Do you have any examples?
Yeah, and that's a good question. And we actually,
except from you.
Yeah, except from the grandma jacket. The grandma jacket is not alone. That's the nice thing. But you know what? When we started, because we've been like looking at how can we communicate these things, emotional longevity. It's such a fluffy word and concept. How can we do it? And then we started talking about those stories of, for example, a grandma jacket. And after that, stories just keep pouring in from people, from this mom who had a coverall, the kids' coveralls that we apparently had in our line a long time ago, that had been with her, and now her grandkids were using it. And there was this backpack who'd spend years and years traveling the world. When we opened the store in Canada, a guy came in with his old Fjällräven backpack and asked if we wanted to portray it in the store, because he loved it and he'd had it for such a long time. So that's, to me, a confirmation that people care, and hence there is a market for this.
One last question. What about end-of-life recycling of products? Could that be an alternative to long-lasting products?
Yes, or no, to be exact. I don't think it should be an alternative, but obviously any product will eventually reach the end of its lifetime. And then I certainly hope that, and I'm very positive that there will be a lot of recycling options. What I do feel that we need to consider when a lot of these new innovative ways of recycling textiles pop up is that they don't become a sleeping cushion. And that you then just, then we don't need to think about this lasting, because it could just be recycled afterwards. Because you need to remember that it's still, a product still consists of a number of raw materials, and it has taken so much energy, emissions, waste to create it. And it also takes energy to recycle it. So I'm really glad that we see a lot happening when it comes to end-of-life recycling, but I don't want to see it replace this need to ensure that the things we actually put on the market can last for as long as possible.
Thank you. And I just have to ask you this final question. How long do you think you will be keeping, or your children will be keeping, the grandma jackets?
Well, exactly. When is it end of life? Well, I use it a lot now, so I'm kind of scared it's gonna, be worn too much, but it seems sturdy enough. And the fact that I've spoken about this quite some times now might also add to it being a curious piece to keep. But I really hope that I'm sure I'll be able to wear it until I'm able to hand it over to them. And by that time, I'll have to leave it in their hands.
Yeah. Good luck with that. And thank you for joining us.
Thank you.